Hi Shivam, welcome to DigiBytes SQL session. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. What about you?
Good. I think your voice is a little going a digital, but I think let's do this session. Probably you can stay on mute, and whenever you have questions, you can always chat on this. This session is being recorded. So today, I think you already spoke to Vaibhav before on on our Teach Tech series. First one was about what is BI. Second one is what is Tableau. There was a little bit deviation. Probably we could have done SQL now, but in the next Teach Tech series, we are gonna do what is SQL. Have you heard about SQL before? I'll take that as a yes and a no probably. Anyways, so SQL stands for Structured Querying Language.
Yes.
Mm, Good. Good. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and with your program what you're doing right now, we are all kind of a boot camp where you're trying to learn about BI, business intelligence, data engineering, kind of a boot camp. Next one was Tableau. The first and foremost important for all this is a database, right? Anytime your data is being stored, where is it being stored? In a relational database. You might have heard about concepts called RDBMS, or a relational database management system. In this video, we will not really try to go detail into that. We have a separate SQL playlist in the Digibytes channel here, and you can take a look at them. And I think you've already taken a look at them, but others who are viewing this video and stuff, we have an SQL playlist. We are going to put that in the description below once we are done. But for this focus of this particular Teach Tech series session, what we are going to do is we are going to take a database which is already done, and we are going to try to solve some questions. It can be an inner join, left join, right join. There might be a lot of concepts which are going to be directly coming towards you. I'll try to take them as it goes. But if you have any questions, I might be saying that go watch Digibytes SQL playlist, and you might get more clarity on that. But uh, before going to anywhere, Shivam, why do you think you want to learn SQL? Do you are you a let me ask you this question: Are you a first timer?
Yeah, I'm a first timer.
Do you are you doing this to get a better job?
Yes.
Good. So I think that's the same thing with many people, right? Who are first timers, who are looking for promotion on their existing jobs, or they want, or anybody who's trying to increase their skill set or anything. In fact, for them, SQL is a very good subject to learn. Uh, as I told you in the play, apart from the playlist, what do I have today here is I have a this is my database, how it looks. Let me go to the structure. I'm jumping into the matter already because we're already a couple of minutes into the session right now. So I have a database with me, and I'm calling it as uh, PSDW. PS stands for Problem Solutions Data Warehouse. So this Problem Solutions Data Warehouse, what do I have here is you're seeing like four different tables. This is called tables. All the information in data base are stored in tables. Once you go through that playlist, you'll understand what is a table and what is a database. So all the information is stored in tables. We have one, two, three, four tables here. As the name suggests, we have customers who raise complaints on their appliances. And appliances can be your water purifier, your furnace, your AC, whatever. And an engineer comes home and fixes that uh, complaint. That's the database what we have. Uh, First question: What uh, uh, if I was a business person? I have to run this business, right? And I'm storing all this information in a database. I have a question. You might, Shivam, you might also have many questions. But let's say I have prepared a set of questions here. Somebody asks me, what are the total number of complaints? Um, how do I go about it? So ideally, let me click on complaints database. Every IDE or your development environment would be different. For my SQL, I generally use Workbench. This is my server related PHP my admin. You for Oracle there are SQL developers. Let me quickly show you. Um, uh, and if you watch our playlist, you can always see. So there is MySQL Workbench. This is a product which we use to connect to our databases and stuff like that. But that's not the scope of this session. So let's quickly jump in. So let's say if somebody wants to write an SQL query, what are the total number of complaints? How do they do it? So I'm going to my SQL window. Let me see if this works. First of all, I'll write select star before I go into the count star from. I want to go to the table complaints, right? So I'll just say
Yeah.
complaints and I'll click go here. If you see here, I'm going to show the query box. So if you see select star from complaints, it shows star means show everything. What I have in complaints table, I have a complaint ID, complaint date, customer ID, what appliance that complaint was raised against, which customer did it, who raised it, which engineer fixed it, how many hours did he work, how many hours did he travel to fix it, right? Let's say this is the database what we have. Now, how do we count the number of complaints? Any guesses, Shivam?
I think use of count
Okay,
and
good.
select a star for all.
You're close. What we'll do is select count. We can probably count complaint ID because every complaint ID is unique and different, correct? What we'll do is we'll say select count
Yeah.
of complaint ID from complaints. And to comment, if you don't want to run that particular line, you can always do use a double slash in the different IDs. But let's say this. Come, I'm gonna remove that for now. So we have first question is solved. We have 20,040 complaints. 20040. We have 20,000 complaints. The next question, what we wrote for ourselves, Shivam, here is what are the total count of engineers? So do you want to take a stab at it? Let me go to let me copy this just to make sure because I feel the query will be same. So I clicked on engineer table. I'm seeing all the engineers. So let me edit it. What do you think the query should be like? Let me copy it here. Should I say
I think
select?
so.
Mhm.
Complaint ID by engineer ID.
Very good. Select count of engineer ID from engineer.
Engineer.
Okay, let's do that. 50. We have 50 engineers. We are solving the problems as we. Very good. We have 50 engineers. How many complaints did each engineer solve? How do you think it should go? So first thing is we need to both the tables to be involved. So engineer and complaints table.
Yeah.
So right. So what are we trying to do is let me expand. Let's probably rather than engineer ID, let's try to get engineer name this time. Okay. So let's say which engineer name because I have put the from. Um, how many complaints did he solve? Count of complaint ID. Let me expand complaints. How many complaints did he solve? Correct. So let's say count of complaint ID. So from engineer, um, how do you think I can combine two different tables in SQL?
I think so by inner join.
Inner join, right? So that's a very good concept. Let me give a little bit of introduction, whoever is seeing this video. So whenever you're trying to uh, talk to two different tables or get information from one table to other, there is a concept called joins. uh, Joins, again, as I said, will be in the playlist. If it is not in the playlist, let me quickly show you how the joins really work. So joins are something like this. There are four primarily different joins what we have. Inner join is like, let's say, all the engineers and all the complaints, if they have to if we have to get information among each other, there should be a common key, a primary key and a foreign key relationship. So what we'll do is, if you see, in complaints table we have complaint ID, engineer ID, customer ID. Now we are trying to merge or get information from which engineer name has solved how many complaints, and the join can be established on engineer ID. So this is the primary key here, and this is the foreign key. So this ID column is an engineer table as well as in complaints table. Only then you can join these two, right? So how can we do? As I told you, there's a join concept. Let me write a join query, as this session is a very interactive session, and whoever wants to learn, just please learn about joins. I think that will be a good way to see about it. Let's say select engineer name count of, let me give uh, this guy an alias. You can always say, what is this? So select engineer name, um, count of complaint ID from engineer, rather than just writing every time. I'll show what is an alias once I write this query. Inner join. Let me get complaints table also. Complaints. I want to alias it as C. Sorry. Inner join on C dot. You see, from complaints, I want engineer ID equal to E dot engineer ID. Is this making sense, Shivam? Are you understanding?
Why you use C and E?
Very good question. So C and E are called aliases. Otherwise, what I have to do is like, if I have to call this entire table, let's say this table name was like a 50 character, right? Ideally what happens is, when you're taking engineer ID and you're merging, doing a join on the other engineer, from which table did you pick? You have to ideally say engineer dot engineer ID equal to complaints dot engineer ID, and you don't have to write E and C. But once I put an alias, let's say my name is Raghavinder, everybody calls me RK or Raghav, right? I can put a alias here. Hey, whenever I have referencing engineer table, let me just call E, right? And let me just call C. So now when I'm doing engineer dot engineer ID, I can write the entire table name, or I can just give it a alias name here. I can give it a alias name here. So that way the join works. Make sense? Understood?
Yeah.
Good. So let me run this. Okay. I know it might not run, but let's run this. So it is saying that only one engineer has come and has done all the 20,000 complaints. something is wrong, right? It is not true, right? Unless and until. So what happens is, ideally, we'll go here. Oh, let's put complaint e dot engineer name and c dot complaint ID. There is something called group by clause. Group by, we are saying get all the engineers and count all the complaint IDs and show me the list, group them by each engineer. That is the syntax. And once I do this, you see what is the engineer ID, how many complaints did that engineer work, and group by each engineer. And to combine these two, we wrote a join. Is it making sense?
Yes.
Okay. So with that said, I would like to just uh, tell that in a single statement, we covered a lot of concepts today already, right? Select star, because doing is learning, right? I believe in like doing is learning. I know I might have written a lot of code and uh, very small code, in fact, but there are a lot of concepts already being what you're learning here, right? If you see, you've learned in one statement before, we learned what is count. These are called functions in SQL. You learned joins already because we had to use a join, and you did a group by, right? Aggregations. So count can be some, average, uh, any different function, unique, distinct. So different kind of functions. So what I'm trying to suggest, Shivam, is to solve any particular SQL query or something. There are multiple ways to learn, but the easiest way to learn is by doing. Okay, that is the only thing what I am trying to solve. Because if we know here what is the database and what we are trying to solve. So now let's say we did solve that, we know this answer, we have done, right?
Yes.
Now, what is the total cost of complaints? Uh, let's take this question. Let me expand complaints here. There is no particular cost. Let's say, uh, let me go this way. What is the total cost? Let's say each hour is $1. Okay, how many labors hours he has? Let's find how many total labor hours in complaints table. Let's do that. How do you think we should do that? Total labor hours.
No idea.
I want to add all the labor hours.
We use add syntax.
So that is sum.
Okay.
Okay, I want to sum all which column? Labor hours, right? Let's say I want to sum all labor hours from complaints table. Let's see how many labor hours are there total. To whatever that number is, right? 20,000, not no, 2 lakh 9,918 hours. Total hours. Total so many hours. Let's say if each hour we are it's being costed 2 rupees or $2 per hour, let's say. How do you think multiplication works? It exactly works like that. Just multiply by 2. For example, 419836. So what is the total cost of complaints? 419836. Either it is dollars or rupees, whatever it is. Sorry, my caps lock was on rupees or whatever it is. Okay. Um, which engineer solved most complaints? Let's see. Let's go back to our previous query. I don't know. We have our previous query saved. Ding, ding. I'm just doing. So we have this. Let me run this query. I have like so many complaints, right? 377 on. I just wanna, just know which person solved the most, right? If I can order the table, if I can order the table from top to low, that is ascending or descending, do you think I might get the answer?
Yes.
Right? If I have to just
But
get. Mhm.
by order, we will arrange to descending to ascending, but
Okay.
not find the most particular.
Engineer name. So if I say I want to sort on complaints from descending to ascending, I might get the engineer who might have solved the most complaints, correct?
Yeah.
So let's see. So I want to do order by descending. Let's see what does this even do. Let's see the error, right? It's saying you have an error in it. Check the manual limit, whatever that limit is. Probably it is, we have only 25 limit in the data what I have. Let's say, let me do that here. This particular because of the ID what I'm using. Let me just do that. Hmm, oops. Right. Let me write it. Order by. No, I know the answer. So order by engineer name DSC. What do you think this is doing? Let's see. What do you think this did? What do you think this just happened? When I did order by engineer name descending, what do you think happened? Okay, you know
I
what?
think so. There
Mhm.
is no change.
There is no change. Let me do ascending. The first guy is what? Some word. Tony is the second person, right? Let's do ascending.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing ascending. Order by ascending. Now Ayla, Albertine, these people are coming, right? You know what happened? It sorted A to Z and Z to A,
Okay.
right? It happened A to Z and Z to A. Now let's see if we
My
can. So
focus on complaint ID.
correct. That's what it is. So you're saying order by engineer name. So it ordered engineer name. It did not do complaints. Now let's see if we can order count of complaints. I don't know if this will work or not, but let's just see. And we want to say order by count of complaints descending. Let's click go. We got it. So Beryl
Abs-
Godsinger, this is the person who solved most complaints, right? Which engineer solved? Beryl Godsinger. Okay. So which engineer traveled the most? You can obviously do the same way, order by and get all the which month we incur the high cost. I think we can group by months and see which month we got most cost. which customer complained the most, you can always say, give me all the complaints, order by DESC, and see who is the first customer who has done that, right? The purpose of this session is to teach technology. It was not to completely teach you SQL,
One
right?
question.
Yeah. Go ahead, please.
Will you please delete DESC and then execute the query?
Sure, let's do it. You want to
I
see the
think
data
so. By
once?
default, ASC works.
Yes. Let's see. You are correct. By default, ascending. The order is ascending. And whenever you have to mention descending, you have to say descending. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So the purpose of this session of teaching technology series is to teach you what SQL is. It might be very fast, it might be quick, but it is just to tell you what is the power of SQL. That's it, right? If you want to learn more and dwell more about SQL, as I told you, Digibytes already has a SQL playlist. Take a look at that. I'll put the link in the description, everybody. But if you have any specific questions on SQL, Shivam is already learning. We have many other people who come to us and we do it voluntarily. So come to us and we'll be able to help you. But Shivam, do you think, I know it was very fast, but do you think it is exciting?
Yes, very.
Yeah, good. I don't want to make it a big video because SQL cannot be covered in one video. I know I jumped into directly into what we were doing, but this is how it starts. Um, create a database, insert data into it, and write some select commands and write some joins, order by, group by. There are many syntaxes. Their best resource is Digibytes. Come here and we can learn. Okay. Otherwise, if you do you have any questions in general, Shiva, about SQL?
No, I understood
Good.
all the queries.
Very good. As I told you, always I suggest to make yourself your own questions, right? We did not go through these questions because some have some basic common themes going on. Create your own database, create your own questions, or as I told you, um, you can, there are many sites, right? Go to w3schools.com, wherever you want to go. You can learn database anywhere, but start somewhere. Start somewhere. Start anywhere, in fact. Or you want to start organized, I would say first create a database, insert some data into it, then start doing selects. And what I just said, if you Google it, that is good enough. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot for joining this Teach the Tech series, Shivam. As I told you, you started with BI. You know what Tableau is now. You now know what SQL is, but you have to study accordingly. To become a proper data engineer, I think you have 3 good sessions already. I think you're in a right track to go in forward. Okay. See you in the next session. Thanks a lot. Let me